In 1954, an Italian car company built a car with a jet engine bolted where the trunk should be, no headlights, and a top speed that could outrun most fighter planes taking off from the runway right next to it. No, that's not a typo. Fighter planes, because this car was unveiled at an actual airport in front of the men who ran one of the biggest car companies on Earth, and almost nobody outside of 3 engineers even knew it existed until the week it happened. This is the story of the Fiat Turbina, the car that tried to turn every gas station in America into a kerosene depot, and the strange, brilliant reason it never had a chance goes all the way back to a fear that started in the skies, not on the road.
Right after World War II, if you were alive in the aviation world, you watched propeller planes get wiped off the map almost overnight by jet engines. One year, piston engines are king. The next year, they're obsolete junk. And if you're an engineer at a car company in 1948 watching that happen, a pretty terrifying thought creeps in. What if the exact same thing is about to happen to us? What if the piston engine under every car on the road is about to become a museum piece? That fear had a name at Fiat, and it belonged to a man called Dante Giacosa, the head of engineering and design. Giacosa was obsessed with one idea, that turbine power could do to cars what it just did to airplanes, and that Fiat needed to be first, not last, to figure that out.
Here's the twist, though. Fiat already had turbine experts on staff. They were literally building jet engines under license and huge industrial gas turbines in another division. Giacosa didn't go to them on purpose. He wanted an engine designed from scratch, built specifically for a car, not some retrofitted aircraft engine crammed under a hood. So instead of using Fiat's own turbine department, he handed the project to a young engineer named Vittorio Bellicardi and told him to build it in secret. Not secret from competitors, secret from Fiat's own board of directors.
Think about that for a second. The head of engineering was hiding a project from the people who controlled the money because he was terrified they'd kill it before it had a chance to prove itself. So where do you hide a screaming, potentially explosive turbine engine spinning at 30,000 RPM inside a massive, busy factory without anyone noticing?
Bellicardi found the answer in Fiat's legendary Lingotto factory, the one with the rooftop test track that car nerds still recognize today. Buried in a forgotten 6th-floor annex called Traversa D, completely unused, completely out of sight, Bellicardi quietly rented the space, buried the paperwork inside an unrelated budget line, and scavenged old lab equipment other departments were throwing out. He gave it a boring name, Special Test Workshop, and made sure the words gas turbine never appeared on a single piece of paper. In that hidden room, with a team of exactly 3 people who had to teach themselves turbine theory from zero, Fiat's secret weapon started coming together.
But here's where the story almost didn't happen at all. While this secret engine was being perfected in a hidden attic, word started leaking out that Rover in Britain and General Motors in America were racing to build turbine cars too. Suddenly, Giacosa and Bellicardi realized they couldn't stay hidden anymore, so they finally walked into Fiat's boardroom and revealed what they'd been building right under everyone's noses for years. The reaction wasn't anger, it was the opposite. Full funding immediately to build an entire car around this engine. And that car needed a name that sounded exactly like what it was: Turbina.
Now here's a problem nobody tells you about turbine engines. They're heavy, loud, and they exhale like a furnace. So the whole car had to be built backwards from the engine outward. A mid-rear layout, a tubular steel chassis borrowed suspension geometry from Fiat's own sports car, the Fiat 8V, and 16-inch wire wheels wrapped in serious performance rubber. Even the fuel system needed rethinking, because this thing didn't drink gasoline, it drank kerosene, stored in 2 tanks built directly into the sides of the chassis.
And then there's the body. Fiat sent designer Fabio Luigi Rappi straight to a wind tunnel at Turin Polytechnic with one job: make it slice through 250 kilometers an hour like the air wasn't even there. He came back with a drag coefficient of just 0.14. That number stayed the lowest of any car on Earth for 30 straight years, in an age when most sedans still looked like rolling refrigerators.
And because this was a research car never meant to see a public road at night, Rapidi didn't even bother giving it real headlights. What looks like hidden headlamps up front are actually just chrome-trimmed covers hiding access panels for 6 batteries needed to start the turbine. Tail fins weren't just for looks either. At those speeds, they were the only thing keeping the back end of the car from swapping ends on the highway. Suicide doors, a curved windshield, windows that didn't even open. Every inch of this thing existed for one purpose only, and it wasn't comfort. Speaking of comfort, walk inside and there's none. bucket seats, a flat white dash, and 12 separate gauges just to keep track of what a screaming turbine engine sitting inches behind your head was actually doing. No soundproofing, no firewall worth mentioning, just you and 260 kilograms of spinning metal doing 22,000 revolutions per minute, closer to your skull than most people's car stereo.
Salamano put on a high-speed demonstration on the runway. Engineers had carefully limited the engine to a safer 150 horsepower for the show, and the car hit roughly 120 miles an hour in front of a stunned crowd. A journalist watching that day noted the car was smoother and quieter than Rover's turbine rival, but he also noticed something that would eventually matter a lot more than anyone realized in that moment: a huge amount of scorching hot exhaust air pouring out the back, even while just idling in traffic. That one detail was basically the whole future of this car, hiding in plain sight. Over the next 2 years, engineers kept refining the engine, eventually squeezing out 295 horsepower, and that got a bold idea into Carlos Salamano's head: one last shot at glory. Rover held the world speed record for a turbine car at 152.9 miles an hour. Salamano was convinced the Turbina, with its insane aerodynamics, could smash that record. Fiat actually started prepping the car for a record attempt in September 1956. Fuel curves were being recalculated, engineers were running the numbers again and again. Everything was lining up for the run that could finally put Fiat's name at the very top of the world speed charts. And then, before the car ever left for the track, word arrived from the other side of the planet that stopped everything cold. Out on the Bonneville Salt Flats in Utah, that blinding white stretch of salt where speed records go to die or get born, a French team had just been quietly rewriting history. News reached Turin that the Renault Étoile Filante had blown past 191 miles an hour. It wasn't even close anymore. That car was a stripped-down single-seat speed machine built for exactly one job, while the Turbina was still, at its core, a two-seat research car shaped like a future production model. Fiat quietly shelved the record attempt for good.